Hi, my name is Shauna Jackson, and welcome to SWWLS Speak Your Truth. This is our fourth episode, and we are so excited to have a new guest this week to tell a new story of survival and how she's thriving. SWWLS is a nonprofit charity that stands for the Society of Women Who Love Shoes. And this charity was founded by Diane Kelly, who herself is a survivor of domestic violence. And Diane herself was able to escape a very volatile situation between her ex husband and get her kids out of a very dangerous situation, a very emotionally and heavy situation, so that they could have a better life. And after making that decision and after it's escaping with literally nothing, with zero, Diane had actually never even worked a real job a day in her life, did not pay bills or anything. And she was able to get herself and her family, her children, to Dallas, Texas. And a person that she knew gave her a pair of red high heel shoes. I mean, it's almost comparable to like the ruby red slipper for her, where I think the saying goes, one pair of shoes can change your life. She said to herself that that feeling that that pair of shoes gave her, she wanted to share. She wanted to have other women, other people know what it felt like to be empowered. And fashion does that for us, right? If you look good, you feel good. And, you're not necessarily what you wear, but it definitely, makes you stick your chest out a little bit and hold your, head up a little bit higher. And she was able to confidently go into an interview and into a new job and a new destiny and a new way of life because of one pair of shoes. And that's the idea that Society of Women Who Love Shoes was founded on. And since that time, Diane and the charity have been able to not only educate people on domestic violence and abuse, but also help families in need by donating gently used clothing, uh, everything from housewares to vehicles to shelter has been donated and offered. Literally, Diane has been there to help people escape in the middle of the night and find somewhere to go. I am the spokesperson for this wonderful charity, and it's crazy. I think it's been like 8 years now. Um, and the way I came to know this charity was just by chance. And I was, my family at the time was actually being affected by domestic violence, not directly to myself, but to a family member. And it truly did affect how we lived in the circumstances in which my family members lived in. And with Diane's help and mentorship, I have been able to understand the mentality of a person of abuse and victims. What I have learned from her, what I've gained from her, is that people can survive. Um, they can come out on the other side of abuse better than they went into it. Whew, I didn't mean to get emotional there, but this charity is really near and dear to my heart, and it means a lot to me. Um, I'm super appreciative of all of the people that share their story, and I was very honored that she trusted me with this platform, Speak Your Truth, is a safe space, a podcast that survivors can come on and, yes, tell their stories, but not to glamorize the abuse, but to help other people have the strength that they had to get themselves out of the abuse. And on the other side of that is success and healing. And we talk about how they are thriving and how they are changing other people's lives. With that, I'd like to introduce our guest this week. Her name is Carolina Perez. And if you will help me introduce Miss Carolina. Hi! Hi, Carolina!
Hi, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good, good. So tell us who you are, and first tell us how you came connected with the charity.
Well, my name is Carolina, and how I got started with the
Carolina, I
charity.
am so sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. How I got started with the charity is that my best friend, Tracy, whose mother is Diane, who actually started the organization. And Diane had asked Tracy, do you know anybody who has been sexually abused? Because she was getting ready to have this talk at this church. And Tracy said, well, yes, absolutely, I do. And said Carolina, and she was surprised. And so that's how I really got started with the charity and had my first speaking role, I guess, if you want to say platform, was at the church function.
Wow, how long ago was that?
3 years ago, 2 years ago.
So your best friend
Uh-huh.
is the daughter of Diane, our founder,
Yes.
and she didn't know your backstory.
Yes.
How crazy is that? And even the fact that Tracy knew, it says a lot about, one, how much she loves you, and she just didn't openly talk about, like what you've been through and share that information. But that's like everything in God's timing, right? Like
Absolutely.
when it was time, then it was like, huh, you know
Yes.
what?
Yes.
So the first time you spoke publicly about your abuse was to a group of Christian people?
Yes.
Talking about
Yes.
pressure. I mean,
Exactly.
yeah, because people have to understand the judgment and internal emotions that go along with the abuse. Tell
Yes.
me a little bit about dealing with, because clearly it had to be something that you thought about when you presented this. What was going through your mind at that time?
As far as talking to the ladies at the church,
Yeah,
I'll have to tell you a funny backstory. I
please.
was flying in from my youngest son plays baseball. We're a blended family, so it was my bonus son.
Aw.
His He was playing in a tournament. We were flying in, and my luggage got lost, so I had to go back to the airport the next day, which was the day we were supposed to speak. And so I had to run to the airport, grab my clothes, grab my makeup, get ready, run and meet Tracy and Diane, and lo and behold, I get there and I'm not even thinking clearly. I'm just trying to hurry and get there, right? So I get there and I didn't have a rod. I was like, oh my goodness. It's not even dawn on me. And so I told Tracy, I went, Tracy, I forgot my bra. Oh my gosh, what do I do? I was so worried. I completely didn't even think about being nervous about what I was getting ready to talk about. So it was a little
Clearly
bit
you
of an
were nervous.
icebreaker, which was,
When you forget
yeah.
undergarments,
Oh,
clearly there's something
yes,
going on. Wow.
exactly.
So when you had the opportunity
Oh, it was
to
so
let that sink in, what was the nerves? Like, what were you thinking going into that?
just that God would guide me in the right direction so that I could say the right words so that someone would hear my voice and my story, and maybe it would help them accept maybe something that had happened to them, or that they knew of someone
Mm-hmm.
that they could possibly help guide and say, listen, I heard this story, and it's okay. You're not the only one, because sometimes we feel like, oh my gosh, or at least I did as a small child, I'm the only one that this is happening to. I really truly believed even in my heart, I was the only one.
Wow.
Until I got much later on in life, because my abuse started, bisexual abuse, ended probably I was about 7 or 8 years old. But what we feel like through other family members that are older than I am feel like it happened much younger, possibly when I was in diapers, is what they're believing.
Wow.
From different signs now that they know, and reliving things, and maybe back then not really clearly knowing, that, I have a wonderful great aunt that's still living today. And sometimes we talk and she tells me, I thought I saw some things then and I was like, that doesn't seem right. But she's like, oh, that's just me thinking horrible. I shouldn't think like that.
Wow.
When clearly now we realize, and I didn't tell till I was 16 when I finally came out.
So
and told what was going on.
Let's hear about that. What, obviously hearing what you just said, you don't really know where your story ends, and like, my heart goes out to you, because not only do you not know where it begins, but that means for you it was a constant from the beginning of, like, it's the only thing that you can remember. So tell us that story.
Well, I was as far back as I can really remember, consciously remember, I remember being about 4.5 years, maybe 5 years old. I can remember. And I could close my eyes to this day and remember things hanging on the wall, what he was wearing, smells in the room. I mean, I can clearly remember it. And I will be 53 in January, so I can still remember that far back.
Yeah.
And different episodes that happened.
How far did he take it? I mean, you don't have to get into the details, but I mean, was it full on, like, sexual abuse, or was it?
Yeah.
My God.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It was oral sex. It was fondling. I don't clearly remember him penetrating me, with his penis. I don't remember that. And I think I would have, I'm hoping, but I can't say with 100%.
Did happen, you know, our bodies, are very smart and capable, and sometimes if it's just too much trauma,
Absolutely.
hopefully the body did you a favor and you don't remember that. But I am hearing you when you say with specific body parts, but clearly there was penetration of some sort.
Yes, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
so 7 is far as you can think you can remember. So what's that, like, first grade? I mean,
was second grade. Second grade. No more than second grade.
More than second grade. Why do you think it stopped?
My parents, from my mother, talking with my mother, time and time again, they were having a lot of trouble out of me, a lot of emotional trauma with me. But she never could pinpoint it. And she actually took me to the family physician, and who was a member of the church as well. And we sat in his office and we talked, and he was telling me, about, how God gave Adam Eve, and it was all natural, because I didn't even like my father touching my mother just to give her a hug or give her a kiss. I would scream and get in between them, because I was so afraid he was going to hurt her the way I had been hurt by, and this was and the person that abused me was actually my mother's father. So I don't give him the title as grandfather, because a grandfather doesn't do those sort of things.
Yeah.
So I give him my mother's father.
Yeah.
It's easier for me, but maybe some can give it but for me, I can't, because That's not what he was to me.
Yeah.
Hmm?
That is so, you have to excuse me. First of all, let me say you are a super, super strong individual.
Oh, thank
I
you.
talk to a lot of people, um, and a lot of people are very, they hold on to their abuse. Um, and I feel like I'm emotional because you haven't. Like, I don't think I've talked to a truly healed person yet. Um, and even though it's still, you know, it's still there, but you are like truly like just light and love and like that's like so amazing. Because you
Thank
had
you.
to take a pause for a second because I didn't want to like go into straight ugly cry. But your grandfather is supposed to be your hero. Like even
Right.
beyond your father, my grandfather just passed away, and he was like a pillar of the community, and like he did all these great things. And my father's grandfather, I didn't know, but it was the same, like the aura that he left. It was like you're whose grandchild, you know?
Hmm.
So to know that someone so trustworthy that even your own, I mean, in the pain that your mom, like that wasn't just a healing for you. We're moms. We blame everything on ourselves. So I
Right.
can't imagine what that did to her not knowing, but good for her for knowing something's not right. I don't know what to do or how to fix it, but let me try.
Right.
So the doctor's giving you the whole Adam and Eve thing, but how, do you ever tell him, or like how did who you
No.
did he examine you? Did he? Of course,
No.
right? You're 7 years old. Um, because I can, how did this manifest itself in your life? Because it had to come out somehow.
Sure.
What types of things were you dealing with or going through?
Oh my goodness. I never turned to drugs.
Thank God.
I never turned to prostitution, which is amazing because usually
Mm-hmm.
we're dealing with so much pain and grief.
Yeah,
And of course, this is what we're shown at a very early age. I mean, that's what I thought that's what you were supposed to do. It was absolutely normal, you know,
that's
in a sense, you know. So yeah, I mean, it was difficult. So I took it out on my schoolwork. So I really didn't care about
so you
school.
weren't, yeah. Like I think Oprah says this often, your body betrays you.
Yes.
Ugh. And just that in it, the mind fuckery, I told you I might use that word.
Yep. No.
It's just like you like listeners, you can't even put this in a box or a frame. What it things that you experience, the decisions that you make sexually and emotionally, all of those things get interrupted
Yes.
and confused, you know?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
the
Absolutely.
first outward sign was okay, school, not just at school, not doing anything, don't care. How long did that last?
Until I was 16 when I told. And
My,
it still carried through for a while after that.
obviously, you survived.
Yeah, by the grace of God. I don't know how I did, but I did.
Didn't overly, you weren't a prostitute and sell your body. Didn't, what the hell were like? How are you like? Were you like? Were you say? Would you say you were depressed? Like, were you
Oh,
introverted or
at times,
wild
yes. In
child?
fact, I was a wild. Yeah, I did
Okay,
turn wild. Later on, I did turn
so
wild.
you were
Yeah.
very rebellious.
Absolutely. Oh, yes.
Like,
Uh,
screw this.
But I was much much older when I finally did rebel. But I can remember before I told, and I don't even know what age I was. I must have been junior high, maybe elementary, maybe sixth, seventh grade, somewhere around there, where I can remember clearly being in my room, shutting the door and locking it, and literally sitting in a corner, crying, rocking myself, asking God, why? Why don't you just take me? Why am I here? What is my purpose? Why? I didn't understand it. Because I hadn't told yet. So I couldn't tell anybody, couldn't tell my family. And I don't ever remember being told, now, if you tell, something's going to happen. I don't ever remember those words, like being threatened. I never remember any of that. But I just knew not to.
And I want to be very clear with our listeners. This is an idea, especially that's perpetuated by TV and movie, that somehow the child is scared or in fear.
Mm-hmm.
When this is happening to someone their entire life, you don't know it's wrong. You just know it's wrong.
Yes.
Right? So
Absolutely.
there wasn't a fear. There was just confusion.
Absolute
Like,
confusion.
oh, this is not right. And because you're seeing this person be a granddad at the same time be a monster. Nobody else is seeing it. You're like, well, shit, am I the crazy one? Like, that's where that in the corner, why am I here? Take me, because did nobody see this shit? Like, and did you have cousins?
Yes, I am. Let's see. I am the third in line, the third oldest out of 7 of us. So there was, but
Ever think that this, not, don't give it any, but did you ever think that this was happening to?
correct.
Yeah.
I never thought any of that. I just knew. And as I got older, I'm the first generation of my father here in America. My father's from South America. He's from Peru.
Okay.
So when my mother married my father, her dad did not want them to marry whatsoever. He didn't even go to the wedding because he wasn't American. He wasn't Anglo. And then in my mind, I was like, oh, that's why this is happening. He's getting back at my mother.
You were trying to justify it.
I was, yes.
Like, he doesn't even consider me a grandchild.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there was
justifiable to him.
Right. Absolutely. So, I mean, it was just so many things I tried to come up with to justify why this was happening, when in reality, it was just him. Yeah. He was just an individual who had a severe mental issue. I don't know if
that's the fact that you can even say that speaks volumes. Like, whoa. Ugh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So remembering this, these little micro moments that you can like kind of pull on, and then at 16, what was what was the enough? Like, what made you say, I gotta say something?
It finally came. I was just having so much pressure. I just felt so much weight on my heart that I couldn't anymore. And I'll never forget, it was a Wednesday night. We were at church in the fellowship, and I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I had these flashbacks right there. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I catch myself, and I was like, I hope nobody sees this. Nobody can see this, right? It's just me. They can't see that I'm just like blanking, because I knew I was like just blacking out, and I don't even know what the preacher was preaching about, the sermon, what made it click. So I excused myself and went to the restroom, the ladies' room, and looked around in the stalls. Nobody was there. And out loud, I said, God, if this is the time, all I need is for you to be by my side. That's all I need.
Wow.
So that was Wednesday night. That weekend, my parents had gone out of town to the farm, and I stayed with one of my best friend. And I told her, and she said, you need to tell my mother. I said, okay. Told her, and she said, you need to tell your mom. So my mother came and picked me up on Sunday, got home. I called my mother to my room. She sat down on my bed, and I told her very calmly. She sat there and she said, "Thank you. That's the piece of the puzzle I have been missing
Oh,
all of these years."
wow.
So then we in turn said, "Well, we need to tell your father." So we
Let's
both went
pause
down.
for a second. Let's
Pardon me?
pause there for a second. Because in this moment, I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but I almost feel like you had some guilt. Like the fact that she said this was the piece of the puzzle, you knew she was trying to figure out what's wrong with you. And once again, you get this displacement of guilt that's impressed back on you. Oh, now I feel guilty. Why didn't I tell my mom? She's been carried. Like once again, you're turning it around and making it. And I don't, like I said, I mean, I just feel like in that moment, I don't like, was her reaction even what you expected?
No, because at first I thought, oh my gosh, what if she doesn't believe me?
Right.
I was like, what do I do if she doesn't believe me? But I knew I had to tell because
Yeah.
I couldn't.
And the fact that she's just like, huh,
That's it.
that's that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like now you got to deal with that a little bit. You know, she's saying like we got to tell your dad, but at the same time, I feel like you're like, well, wait a minute. Like, wow, that's a lot. That's just a
Yeah.
lot in itself. Like the fact that you had that courage, you were able to get through that moment. Kudos to your mom.
Oh, yeah.
For like she sounds like an amazing human being.
Oh.
Also was able to forgive herself, and like that's just amazing. So she says, "Let's tell dad."
Mm-hmm.
What do you say
So
when she says that?
we told my father. We were in their bedroom the same night. We went directly
Wow, you were
downstairs.
going for it.
Yes. Went downstairs, went to their room, shut the door, and her and I were sitting on the bed, and my dad was leaning against their dresser, my mother's dresser, and I told him, and he broke down. Absolutely broke down. And I don't see my father cry much. My father is not a crier. And he broke down. And I remember jumping up over the bed to him, running to him and hugging him and telling how sorry I was. So,
There you go.
yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
I want people to understand I'm pointing this out because this is victimization.
yeah,
This is how we act when we're victims, right?
right.
Because you don't have, all you know is guilt. All you know is it's my fault. All
Yeah,
you know is I have to fix it. You're feeling sorry for a grown man not being able to rationalize that this is love, this is pain, has nothing to do with and you're apologizing. And I imagined you probably spent a lot of years apologizing for shit you didn't have to apologize for.
oh, yeah, absolutely.
But
And
yeah,
it took me a long time, probably in my mid 40s, before I was even able to forgive him, my abuser.
yeah,
And that's when I just said I couldn't carry that weight of guilt anymore. And I just said, God forgive him.
this doesn't belong to me.
No, couldn't do it anymore. And I just said, it's in your hands and just have mercy on his soul. And that has helped
Oh,
me.
absolutely. Yeah, forgiveness is never for the other person. Forgiveness is for us
Right.
because it holds you captive. He still
Yeah.
had control of your life. The longer you went without letting, because that's really what forgiveness is. It's just saying I'm letting it go.
Right.
I'm not forgetting. It doesn't change what you did that was wrong. I'm
Yeah.
just letting it go because
Absolutely.
wherever and like it's almost like stop stutters because wherever you are when a damage happens, you're still there until you forgive.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a 7-year old, 6-year old girl for making forgiveness. And now you got to backtrack.
Oh, yes.
You got to go get all of that back that he thought he took.
Right.
It wasn't there. It's just in a little treasure chest, see? And then you had to unleash on the world.
Yeah, exactly. But the funny part of it is we went and told that, I guess it was the Wednesday, maybe. I don't even know. I told my parents on Sunday, and it was that probably Wednesday night we went over to their house and
Ooh.
told, and he sat in his chair, never blinked an eye, never looked our way. And I was sitting on the piano bench with my father. My mother was on the couch. My grandmother was in the other chair, and he was in his chair. And he sat there and stared at the TV and said, I didn't do it. Must have been something she saw on TV. Now, mind you, this is in the early 70s where you have the Brady Bunch on TV.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You don't have what you have on TV now.
Right. Very family oriented, right.
Extremely oriented.
Yeah.
We're with somebody at school, and I'm thinking, no, no. And even I believe till his dying day, he never apologized to me. Not once did he ever apologize to me. But that's okay. That's okay.
I mean, it's not, but it has to be.
It has to be.
It has to
Yeah.
be. Right.
It
Right.
has
Right. It has to be.
It has to be.
How did your mom deal with this? Broken really. I mean, that's gone. That relationship, it's done.
Yes.
That's a death. Like you literally done.
Right. Her and her mother, after I told, her and her mother had a very, they didn't talk much. They were very close, and they kind of like pulled away, or maybe my grandmother pulled away from the situation. She was extremely hurt. I do believe my grandmother believed me.
Okay.
But it was a very strained relationship. And then as my grandmother got much older, they came closer together, I think, up until the end of my grandmother's life. My grandmother and I were close too, but then after I told, I think it was too hard for her to bear.
Oh God, I think.
And I have to respect that. I have to respect that as much as it maybe hurts.
Yeah.
I have to respect it. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems like a real loss for you. That was a real.
Oh, it is.
Your grandmother. Yeah. Oh, Carolina, that's. Mm.
It's hard.
Yeah, because that's your maternal grandmother, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my other grandmother, of course, she lived in Peru, so I was close to her as much as I possibly could be close to her.
Yeah.
And not being able to speak the language,
Right.
my father to interpret for us, but and I have her namesake, but I just never had any grandparents.
Oh, wow.
Excuse me.
No need.
So, but she was a good grandmother as best she could with what she was dealt with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, God
Yeah.
bless you for being able to even find it, not maybe understand it, but have compassion for it.
Right.
I mean, because at that point, she's probably much older and like, yeah, what do you do? But I'm sure it also put a strain on that relationship as well.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine? Who am I living with? Who am I
Mm-hmm.
living with? Um, and then, so that's at 16.
Mm-hmm.
So did you do count, how did you go through the healing process? So we do all of the exposure. I'm sure this was probably at family wide at this point. What was the next step? Like, what did you do?
Well, my parents tried to get me into counseling. One was trying to heal me so to speak, with the Bible. And I mean, I appreciate that, but that wasn't the answer.
Right. I feel you on that.
You understand,
Absolutely.
meaning. Excuse me. And then another one I went to wanted to put me on medication. And I was like, I took it and I was, I was like, this isn't working either. You can't give a pill and make it go away. You just can't.
Yeah.
I knew I had a long road ahead of myself, and I knew I had to fight my demons head on. I knew I had to, and
You're
it was
strong. You are strong, Chica.
I wished I felt that way, but I just knew that was what I had to do. I just had to confront the demons head up, face to face, and just deal with them. And it was a long battle, and even to this day,
How did you
I'm
do?
sorry, day by day.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine for people that are listening, people that are watching, when you say dealing with it and meeting the demons dead on, meaning when I'm having a bad moment,
Yes,
I push myself through it. When I'm having a bad day, I push myself through it. When I'm having a bad week, I push myself through it. When I'm being bitchy, I own it. When I was chopping someone's head off, I owned it. If I was being rebellious, I owned it, right? No excuse for myself. And you just try. Okay, so the next moment is another opportunity. The next day is another opportunity to get it right. Yeah.
absolutely. For the longest time, I used it as a crutch,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And then finally, I was like, I don't need this crutch anymore. You got to learn to walk,
And
honey.
that's why I said
Learn to walk.
victim. That's the victim. That was what was happening. Um,
Right.
and when you became the survivor, that's when you take your power back. That's when you say, what the, you just kind of look around and go like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I always, I didn't know what a breakthrough, like in the Christian world, they talk about breakthroughs and, people have coined the aha moment. And I didn't know what it was until, and I've shared this on the show before, I didn't know what it was until I knew what it was. And literally, it's like somebody puts glasses on you, and you literally are looking at the situation with completely different eyes. I
Yeah.
always compare it to standing on a hill and looking down at a city. You can see everything from up here. But when you're at
Right.
street level, the only thing you can see is what's in front of you.
Oh,
That's it. So
yes.
this is you standing on the hill going, "Oh my God, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
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 And now you can decide, okay, this is the direction I want to go in. That's north, that's south, that's where that is, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
can you remember like one poignant moment that you knew, oh, okay, I'm I'm much better. Like, was there
Yeah.
yeah, tell me that story.
Oh, my mother's going to love this story. Um, my grandmother had passed away, and she still felt obligated to help take care of him. And she apologized to me because her other two brothers had passed away. And my mother's the oldest of three. So it was just her. And she kept apologizing and apologizing to me. I have to do this. I just have to do this. I said, Mom, you don't have to apologize for anything. I understand, and it's okay. And I really meant that. It was okay. I understood why she felt like she had to do it. Anyway, he had gotten a letter and said that he was missing X amount of dollars and accused my mother, of all people, of taking it. I was like, oh, when I found that out, I was at work. I left work, drove directly over to that house, and I beat on the window till he came to the window. And he looks out and he's like, what? I said, you open that gate right now. He comes out and he's shaking like, what's going on? White as a sheet, because it was me
Yeah,
standing there.
yeah.
Me standing there. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like nervous and walking in the house, and he sits down in his chair, the infamous chair. And I told him, I said, let me tell you something. Don't you ever call my mother again, don't you ever accuse her of anything, because my mother did not do that. She's been taking care of you. Don't call my brother. Don't call my sister. Don't call any of my family the next time you have a health issue. You pray to your so-called God who you think you have, and let him help you. I said, the only one that really cares about you is that dog of yours, and that's only because you have to feed him.
Mm. Mm.
I said, do not. And he's just like this. But, in that moment, I was looking at him, and I was kind of like bending over at him because he was sitting in the chair. And his eyes, there was no soul there. His eyes were just black. I mean, there was nothing there. And I was like, wow, okay. And I told him, I said, and when the time comes, I want to be standing there next to you on Judgment Day, and you tell your God that you didn't do what you did, because there's 3 people who know the truth. That's me, you, and God. And that's all that matters.
My God. Woo!
And at that moment, it was like the world had been lifted off of my shoulders.
Oh.
Even more so than the day I told when I was 16.
Because you got to say your truth. And
I did.
Yeah. I did. And for those people that, there's some people that have ached for that moment, or been wanting the moment, and they get to the moment and they can't do what you did. That was supposed to happen. That's okay. It's okay if you never got to look the accuser in the eye. It's okay if you never got to, physically say it. But the fact that you were able to, and you were able to get closure, because that's really what that was.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely. Is a blessing, and that's amazing. And how old were you when that happened?
I was in my 40s. I was about 40. This is aging me. I was about 45.
You look good.
Thank you.
Wow.
I tried.
Yeah, you look really good. I wasn't expecting you to say that.
Yeah, so I was about
40. I always imagine Tracy's closer to my age, but I guess maybe she's not.
She's 5 years younger than me, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she's like 5 years younger than me. 4 or 5.
So, I mean, and I'm always talking to listeners because I'm hoping that they hear, your stories, our stories, and are inspired and can heal from it. That this doesn't happen overnight.
No.
It's something that you're going to carry for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? It's never going to not be there, but it gets easier. And it's almost like there's somebody in you that stands up and takes that person that was abused and just tucks them in and says, hey, I got you. I got you, girl.
Absolutely.
Got you. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So that's awesome. That's amazing. How did this affect relationships for you?
You want to know the truth?
And I mean, romantic relationships.
My choices were not very good, because any attention was better than no attention. I'll be the first to say that just for me.
Absolutely.
So it didn't matter how you gave it to me. I've been pushed around. I've been hit. I've been backed up in corners. I've been mentally abused, not just sexually, but mentally. So, yeah.
Because it's a learned behavior.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The love is not, it's not mixed with the physical like it should be. It's just the physical. So, that must be what I have to do to get the love. Yeah. It's not that the love is just the physical is a bonus to the love, So so made a lot of mistakes. So how do you meet your current husband? Like, how did that go down?
Well, my current husband, we will be married 5 years in July. I've known him since sixth grade. So we went, graduated school together, went our separate ways, and then years passed. We, went on, and then we just reconnected. So
Nice. So that's
yeah,
amazing. So you're a newlywed.
yeah, somewhat. Even though I've known him forever.
Right, right. Awesome. So what are you doing now? What's your life like now?
I'm a grandmother of two. I have five amazing children. Two are my biological, three are my bonus.
Okay.
Um, I'm trying to be a better person and hopefully, get my story out there. And if one person hears my story and it helps change their life, and they're like, wow, you know, I'm not the only one. Well, then my journey was well worth it.
Absolutely.
All of
I
the,
almost feel like what I gained from you personally
Mhm.
is the parental aspect of it. Um, People don't realize that there are parents that are trying to figure it out. They do know something is wrong. They
Yeah.
don't want anything bad to happen to you. So I feel like if anybody heard anything from your story, say something. Would you have said something sooner if you knew what you know today?
That's a good question. Yes and no. Yes, I wished I would have told sooner, but I think it was the right time for me to tell.
That's
That's when it was supposed to happen. Everything has a purpose and timing is everything,
yes.
and for me, that was just it.
That's what I think. You didn't give up on yourself. I think I took that away as well. Um, and it's okay. And I don't want to, depress shame people or,
Right.
people have, situations that they feel that are horrible and they don't have that strength to not, so they do terrible things to themselves and they think terrible thoughts, as far as suicide or, cutting or,
Right.
eating just, I mean, like there's so drugs, alcohol, sex, like you said, all these things that we do outwardly to express what's going on. Um, I don't think that it's it's okay if you think you've given up on yourself. But I want to tell every person at the sound of my voice, if you are here, you have not given up on yourself.
Absolutely.
Breathing, you have not given up on yourself, and it's okay. You're
Yes.
going to be okay.
Yes, you are.
Whatever your healing process is, whatever your process is, it's okay.
Right.
Maybe this is the sign. Maybe this is the now, right? It's
And
time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't seek help. That for me, that wasn't what I needed to do and felt was the best thing for me. Maybe in hindsight, maybe I should have gotten a little bit of help because it took me so long to get to where I am now. And of course, day by day, I mean, some days I'm just like, okay, hands up. I've got to allow myself to go through whatever it
Right.
is I'm
Right.
doing, go through it. And then I'm like, okay, girl, Carolina, you've got to pull yourself together. This is too much. And then it becomes too much of me being overwhelmed. I'm like, okay, dust yourself off. Let's go. You've
Yeah.
got grandkids, you've got your kids and your husband and your family around you, and let me tell you something. I'll be the first to tell you. I can be a bitch sometimes when I'm going through this. I mean, I can. I just
Yeah.
lash out and I don't mean to. It's because I don't know how to process sometimes, because
Yeah.
Carolina, who my parents gave me life, isn't the same, if you know what I'm saying, because the first time I was touched, she was gone.
Done. Whole
She
nother
was
person.
dead. I mean, and I hate to use that word, but that's the truth.
No, that's absolutely.
So what would she have become? Who would she have been? Would she have been the lawyer that really wanted to go to law school, but just didn't have the grades and didn't have the push to push herself through?
Yeah.
You know, what would she have been? I know she would have been a better mother, because let me tell you something, hands down, I was a horrible mother. I should have been so much better than what I was. But I was going through things. I was going through a really hard, tough time at that time. I was going through a divorce. My kids were little, and I just didn't know. I thought I was being a good mom, but I was going through such a horrible, horrible time in my life that, I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, I was a bad mom. I just really was. I wasn't there for my kids like I should have been. And I mean, like you said earlier,
Yeah.
I own it. I own it.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. You're owning it, but
Yes.
I also, if you don't take anything away from this conversation from me, you will constantly have to battle with forgiving yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You went through something so traumatic and you loved someone, you wanted to have a baby, you loved that life and you wanted to bring it into the world. You did the best that you could do with the tools that you were given.
Yes.
And that's okay. It does not make you a bad mom. We can listen. There are
My
people
kids will say otherwise, but yeah.
there are people taking their kids in the trap house, the drug house, with their babies and doing drugs and not feeding them and abusing them. If you didn't know how to comfort and nurture because you couldn't nurture yourself.
No, I couldn't. I
You
didn't
couldn't
know
comfort yourself.
how.
I'm not saying that what they lost was not what they lost. Doesn't make you a bad mother. Like, you just need to write that 150 times on the blackboard.
Exactly.
I am not a bad mom.
Oh,
Right? You're not a
exactly.
bad mom. If your kids knew what they know now, and I get emotional because my mom has never gone through anything like that, but I'm 43 years old and I have to hear my mom say all the time how proud she is of me and I'm such a good mom. And she wished, like, sometimes she thinks I'm such a good mom because I'm trying to make up for the stuff that and I'm like, Mom, stop. I didn't know that. So even as a child, I had to take responsibility for how I treated my mom and how I acted because I was just a kid and I didn't know and I was dumb and I was stupid.
Right.
Your kids didn't know the woman. They didn't know the 7-year-old. So what you have to tell yourself is, if they knew my story, would they have understood?
Yeah.
And that's why now the present is the only thing that ever matters. The past has no room here.
No, that's true.
It has no room. The only
Very
thing
true.
you can do is live right here. And if we can live right here, call us some people you would think are selfish. You would think some people are selfish. No, but there are some, my dad's one of those people. He can live right here. He doesn't, and it used to make me so mad. Like, you could have been a better dad. You didn't. But when I was in his presence, I'm the only thing that matters because he's always present. So if you can just be here in this moment, you'll never call yourself a bad mom.
That's
That
very
person
true.
does not exist. Just like that 7-year-old girl, whoever she was going to be, the person that you've created, the person that you've become is you. And you got to love
True.
all her color and all her faults because she was damaged.
Oh, yes. She was actually, I feel like she was murdered. Not just so much damage, she was murdered because she never knew how to live. And I'm left with that sentence for the rest of my life. And then that's how I feel. I have this shell that I was given, and some days I don't know what to do with just that shell.
It is not a sentence. I truly believe that we choose this life.
Very true.
We chose to learn something from this. Did you choose to be molested? Probably not.
No.
You know what I'm
Oh, I
saying?
hope.
But did you choose to be here and learn something? Probably so. How we get the lesson is sometimes not up to us.
Very true.
Learn. What did you take away? Who are you because of it? And you think that you didn't make a difference in your kids' lives, but I promise you, they know what molestation is. They know what to look for, and I damn sure bet it never happened to them. So you don't know. Maybe it happened to you so it wouldn't happen to your kids. Like, there's so many levels that could be. You don't call yourself a bad mom. You're not a bad mom. You're a great person who is a mother. Don't always get it right. Because tell me, I told my kids a long time, I'm gonna fuck you up, okay? Okay. Listen, there's not, you can have a Ivy League kid whose parents have wealth, not six figures wealth, like generational wealth, and they want to kill themselves and think their parents are horrible and they don't pay no bills, have no struggles, and that's their downfall because they didn't have a struggle. You know what I mean? So,
right.
No.
Right.
I will not accept it. Okay?
Thank you.
You are a great person. You've been through a lot. You're healing and you're doing your best to be happy. And that's okay. That's why I said I knew when you came out of that healing process, a whole lot of people caught it.
Oh, yeah.
I ain't putting up with no shit.
Exactly.
Never been in my life. Right.
And they know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for your candor and your transparency. And I know that you changed some lives today.
I hope so. Thank you for having me.
Changed. Nobody else has made me cry this much. This is like too much for me.
Sorry.
Like, it's not, you see, look, you're going to take that out of your vocabulary. That's your homework.
I know. I shouldn't say apologize for everything, but I do.
You are cognizant every time you say it, that, and you've been doing this now since your 40s. Every time you recognize, and this is to anybody that can hear this, the moment that you recognize the trigger, once you recognize the wrong or what you're doing, the moment that you acknowledge it, you're closer to healing. You're better because of it. So every time you hear, don't apologize for apologizing. Just go, oh, I did it again.
Yeah.
Over time, you'll do it less and less.
All right. Thank you for that. I greatly appreciate that. And thank you so much for having me and allowing me to tell my story. And I really do appreciate that. It was wonderful talking with you. And should you want me again, please don't hesitate. I would love to share more.
I absolutely will. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a wonderful, blessed week.
You do the same.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, guys. That was Miss Carolina Perez. Peruvian, American, beautiful survivor. Thank you for sharing your story. And if you would like to find out more about the Society of Women Who Love Shoes, you can visit us at www.societyofwomenwholoveshoes.org. You can find us on Facebook under Society of Women Who Love Shoes, as well as on Instagram. And the podcast you can find on Twitter, SWWLS, Speak Your Truth. And how do we function? As a charity, we throw social events, and at those events, we take donations from shoes to clothes to financial donations, volunteers, counselors, lawyers, psychologists will come and they'll speak at our gatherings. What we do socially is we bring together society people, business people, survivors, professionals into a unique setting, at, restaurants, bars, venues. We have put on fashion shows. We've put on carnivals and, festival type events. We've had, football people, and as I stated, society people, people in the media, come out and be involved in all of this we do collectively to bring awareness to domestic violence. And if you would like to get involved, we need you. We need all hands on deck. When we go out and we collect these items, it's a lot of work. One, you have to have the vehicle. You have to have the hands to be able to carry all of the things back from these events that we have. Then we have to deliver them to shelters. We have to find shelters. Sometimes we find the need, and then we have the event and we collect the specific thing that we need. So, for instance, sometimes we may collect just like toiletries, right? Powder, lotions, deodorants, toothpaste. We've done, baby items like Pampers, formula, and baby food and things like that. So we do more than just shoes. But I mean, hello, we love our shoes, right, girls? And the guys too. Now, the guys love the shoes too. And I also want to be clear that this charity is not about women only. This charity is about families of abuse. Our tagline is healing one soul at a time. Very clever, right? But that is our goal, is to help families heal from abuse. So believe it or not, there are men that are abused. I actually just spoke to someone last week that I'm hoping to get on him on the show to share his story. It's not just one-sided. There's children that get abused. There are men, there are women, there are different types of abuse. It's not just always physical abuse. It's mental, emotional abuse as well. So get involved. Help us bring awareness to abuse. Help us educate people on abuse. Help us prevent others from abuse. And thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And until next time, I am your host, Shauna Jackson, and spokesperson for Society of Women Who Love Shoes. And I am love, I am light, and so are you. Have a good evening.